In this spoiler-free review, I get to tell you about Doom: The Dark Ages and if it stacks up to its previous predecessors and if this is the best Doom game we've seen in a long time. Here's our review of Doom: The Dark Ages. Doom: The Dark Ages takes place before Doom and Doom Eternal. It's a prequel that is set in this kind of sci-fi fantasy universe where you take on the role, again, of the Doom Slayer. The Doom Slayer is a beast in every single way through every game that he's been in, and he continues to be so in Doom: The Dark Ages. The story is pretty rote. I think it's a good one. I think it brings a little bit of everything to the table. Of course, the main story is about bad guys and good guys and how the Doom Slayer now is in the role of a protector who is looking to help this warrior class kind of get through this really big fight with this demon that is trying to take over the realm. It is a fun and interesting story that has a couple of twists and turns, but nothing really deep that you would kind of get into and say, that was a story that was monumental or showed, a big side of the Doomslayer in a new way. What it did do, though, was make, for the first time, I think, the Doomslayer feel like an empathetic character. You wind up seeing this kind of back and forth and tussle between him being, this formidable force that we're used to seeing, but also having some kind of vulnerability because he's being used as this tool to fight these weapons when he has some autonomy. And it looks like he is trying to battle between being this weapon of destruction and also being this kind of, tool that has been set upon other people to be used at will. It is a really interesting layer of how I think the Doomslayer has kind of come to this series. It's one that in which you don't really think of him being used in that way and kind of being given that space, especially as a protagonist that doesn't talk. But you do get a chance to see some moments where you see a little bit of struggle in the Doomslayer, not in the fact that he wants to kind of change his ways, but he understands that now he is a tool for destruction and not just a human being. And he winds up kind of fighting that a little bit through some early parts of the story. Again, I'm not going to give any spoilers because, I want you to play through this in and of itself and have your own vibe about what you kind of think of the Doomslayer to be. But I thought that was a really cool aspect of what Doom: The Dark Ages was bringing to the table. It did do something different with the character, kind of, made him feel a little bit new and different. And it also kind of played a little bit into some of the story beats in the biggest ways and some of the gameplay beats. So a really interesting and kind of new way to look at the Doomslayer and how this story kind of fits within the greater Doom universe. But the real big thing about this game is all about combat. This is one of another bangers coming out of id Software. And again, they continue to showcase just why they are some of the best folks in this industry and why they are some of the most talented folks within the video game community and video game development teams. This feels again like so good. It is classic Doom in all the ways that you want, with some new twists in it that I think are the kind of telltale signs that the team is continuously trying to find good ways to and new ways to make this character and make this franchise feel interesting and new, but also sticking to their roots in so many different ways. The Doomslayer is big. He's massive. He is rolling through and just devastating whole hordes of demons across these big stages. 22 campaign stages that are in this game. You get a chance to be this just tank of a human being who is rolling through every form and fashion of demon and kicking ass all the way. It is a blood rushing, just like ridiculous visual play field that you get a chance to be a part of. And every moment is stunning. This game looks gorgeous. I've been playing this game on PC on a 4090 on my rig, and with everything bumped up to high and playing this thing at a pretty stable 120 frames per second. This thing just feels so good. It feels good in terms of every layer of gameplay. All the enemies that you kind of see, the new versions of them are interesting and fun to fight. There are a ton of different options that you have for weapons and for power-ups and things in that nature. And each one of them, as soon as you get a new one, it feels like a toy that you get a chance to play with. It feels glorious to be able to roll through and pick your shotgun and super shotgun and some other weapons that you might have seen in one of our previews or stuff that's been shown from the team. And each one of those weapons just feels good. It feels so fun to play with. each one of them feels like they not only give you a ton of different options on the battlefield, but also makes you really think about how you want to play the game in some new ways. I think, there's one that's a kind of flail gun. There's an actual flail that you get as your melee weapon. This game, Hugo Martin had talked a lot about, making this game feel more interesting on a kind of horizontal plane, as opposed to what, Doom Eternal had done, where they were kind of moving into more, up and down vertical spaces in the gameplay loop. And you feel it immediately. Like, strafing feels extremely good. And, every bullet has weight. It feels like you are this huge clomping monster of metal, with the sound design just like really driving all of it. Not only just from the VFX and from the music, which the soundtrack is fantastic and gives you all of that rock flair that you know and love, but sound design of monsters, and when you get hits and when you block a thing with your new shield, it is so good when you are just rolling through and just murdering everything in your path and feeling fantastic while you do it. I never felt like I didn't have the ability to take on a fight in a smart way, or a way that, left me in a space where I felt like I was being overrun by demons, even though there are a ton of things on screen. The amount of things that are on screen is pretty astounding, and I got no slowdown while having all these enemies on screen. It is really a testament to how well this game has been programmed and the way that this game has been developed, that you're having these much larger spaces that the Doomslayer is having to go through. In every one of those moments, you are feeling like, oh, this is feeling fluid and smooth, and I don't have to worry about any of the hiccups that you have from a technical perspective. It is really a testament to how well that they did this, and how hopefully this will transition to and translate to console, which I'm hoping I get a chance to play it on console as well. But man, this game feels good in every aspect, and it was just a blast to roll through each one of these campaigns. And when you talk about the campaign, and I'm going to come back to gameplay in a second, I think one of the things that is really important is not only the way that these missions are laid out, but you're kind of constantly getting new things to work with, and you're getting, skill trees that you get a chance to upgrade. You're getting your weapons, which you get a chance to upgrade at these shrines, and you're always kind of looking at ways to balance out, which enemies you're fighting versus what weapon you're using at the time. But I love the way that you've been given these really fun skill trees, where usually, you have a skill tree and you add something to it and then your weapon changes a little bit or you get something else. But this one, you have a couple of permutations that wind up kind of differentiating how each one of those weapons reacts to you using it. So what they've done really smartly is giving you basically a toggle that says, okay, so I have this one weapon, and if I toggle it left, it'll act one way, and if I toggle it right, it'll act a different way. So I was constantly looking and trying to figure out, what was the thing I wanted to put on for a specific fight? How was I looking to kind of take on that fight? And then once I found myself in maybe a position where I was kind of either losing a ton of health or not clearing enemies fast enough, I was constantly kind of dipping and dodging and trying to figure out, all right, what's the thing here that I'm missing? Or did I need more gold to kind of get an upgrade that I didn't have yet? Or, did I find myself in a position that wasn't beneficial to me? And the answer was usually no. But the combination of your new shield, which I think is one of the best and most interesting weapons they've added to a Doom game in a very long time, combined with some of the really fun weapons that you get a chance to kind of unlock throughout the campaign, this feels like the most complete version of Doom in a ton of ways. I think depth and variety of weaponry, ideas around the gameplay loop, you being able to not only, use your shield as a weapon, but also use it as a block and a parry. And you're parrying a lot. You're bouncing between enemies and you're fighting a whole bunch of things all at the same time, but none of it feels like you are sacrificing something for something else. You constantly feel powerful in every moment that you're in, while also feeling like, I feel like I'm going to get stronger in this game. Like, I feel like there's going to be more things down the road that are going to give me even more tools to play with. And that's the answer. The answer is yes. You get a ton of fun things to kind of mess around with. And, some secrets and some fun weapons that either come back, but also some really interesting new things that are in the mix as well that change up, not only just the way you think about boss fights, but the way you think about, the kind of cannon fodder that's in the space too. Like, they're all usable things to kind of come back into the fray. One thing that did change a little bit are the executions. I think the executions from the previous games were a highlight and a thing that really was shown in the marketing to kind of push this game forward. Those have changed to maybe one or two different animations per weapon, per enemy. In some factions, they aren't really body specific like they were before. And when speaking to the team, they had a really good explanation for it, which was, we didn't want you to kind of sit in an animation and kind of wait for it to finish and kind of keep the action rolling and keeping that momentum going. And to a certain extent, I do miss them, but they were right. It does kind of keep you in the space and move you around from fight to fight, and having that ability to kind of like charge in and lock onto an enemy with your shield and basically dash almost halfway across the screen to go kill something. It's always about momentum in this game. It's about fluidity. It's about spacing. It's about, how are you kind of tackling a fight and getting in and out to some of those battles. I think this is one of the most fluid, awesome games that have come across in so many different ways. And it changes because of the different versions of the fights that you're in. You kind of have the normal ones where you're kind of on the battlefield doing all the Doom things that you're used to, while also having some of the most fun flying sequences in these Atlan battles where you're this big mech, where you're coming through and jumping into those and fighting other big, super big monsters that are in the space. The balance between the sections that you kind of pick those through are well done. They have a good amount of timing. They don't overstay their welcome. And they feel like they are very additive to the experience, which was a thing in previews that I was worried about. I was a little worried that those things were not going to really feel as good. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out that they were not only very good, but controlled extremely well, especially the flying ones, and really added something fun to the overall landscape of the game. So I was really, really happy with what they did with it, and really excited to see more of it throughout my time with the game. One of the last things I want to talk about is exploration in Doom: The Dark Ages. One of the big kind of tentpole things about this game was that you're going to have more spaces to explore the world that you were in. Some of the sections of the game were much bigger than I expected. The playfields were much bigger, and they had a lot of nooks and crannies to be able to find collectibles and secrets and pull in small pieces of lore through codex and things like that. But also, just a real testament again to showcase just the art and environmental team that were working on this game, just how good they are. Like, this game has variations on settings that are really fun. It's not big vast settings because, again, you're in hell, but the little touches here and there of like underground areas and spaces where you're above the crowd of enemies and seeing all the little details in the world and kind of, what does it look like when you go into spaces that have water? Because we saw that this is one of the first times the Doomslayer can swim. I think the environmental team gets a ton of props because this game is beautiful in every single way. And I think the exploration did a really good job of not only spacing out fights, but giving some good contextual spaces for understanding how big the world is and where enemies are and where allies are in kind of conjunction to the campaign and the story. It really was a pretty cool moment to be able to kind of see things and go into some caves and then come back out into the kind of larger world and just be like, wow, man, this looks really, really good, alongside kind of the VFX and sound effects that inhabit each one of those small spaces. Exploration in this game is pretty fun. It does add to the experience. I think there would be some more things that I would kind of want to see in those spaces. I would like to see some more variety in some of the kind of larger open worlds. There are some puzzles in the space that are pretty smart environmental puzzles, and they're not really hard to figure out, but they do add a little bit to the experience as well in terms of fun and interesting layers of it. But it is a really cool thing to see them expand on this, and I hope that they do more of it. I think, in the next game they wind up bringing out, if it's still a Doom game, I think they should expand on the exploration factors of it and give you even more spaces to kind of run around and play, because it does showcase their technical prowess and how good they are, but it also makes the Doomslayer feel even more badass, because when you're running and you're hearing him thump with his big feet rolling down the street and rolling down the lanes, you just feel like a badass in every moment that you're doing it. So exploration and kind of world building were A+ for me, and they really knocked it out of the park for sure. So is Doom: The Dark Ages the best Doom game out? Is it the best game in the series? I think it might be. I think this is one of my favorite experiences with a Doom game. I think the moment-to-moment gameplay is at 11 pretty much almost all the time. You feel fantastic and really powerful in everything that you do. The weapons are super fun and they feel different and feel useful, and the permutations are really interesting to be able to use and switch between. And, you know, this is a version of the Doomslayer that we kind of haven't seen before. You know, he was a character who is, again, the kind of faceless, almost faceless, but voiceless protagonist that we've continued to see over the lineage of the IP. But for a prequel, it does give an understanding of like who this person is, even in the smallest ways, which then if you kind of think about Doom and then Doom Eternal, you kind of see how he's grown into this, oh, I am the one who you call when you need something done person. And it just brings, you know, the idea of what this franchise can be into a new level. I think, you know, one of the things they continued to talk about, Hugo and the rest of the team, was, you know, we are still trying to figure out good ways to bring this character forward. We're still trying to find good ways to, you know, pay homage to the original story and continue to build upon what this franchise can be. And I think they've nailed it in so many different ways, from sound design to VFX to, you know, environmental building to story to cutscenes, which are all stunning and beautiful. Each one of them just looks ridiculously good. I captured so many screenshots while playing this game for review, and it just like blew me away. My time with it wasn't super long, but it didn't feel like, you know, I was rushing through it. It felt like I finished it in probably like three long marathon sessions, probably like 12 hours each or so, like 10 to 12 hours each. And didn't finish every chapter. Like there are a ton of things that are still, you know, up to be found in many of those chapters. And it was something to be able to kind of look at, you know, from a perspective of like, oh, I want to go back and try to find those hidden things and those secrets and all the stuff that I missed. But it never felt like any of the moments kind of stayed too long. It felt like everything ended in a really cohesive fashion. But every moment that I was playing, I felt fun and it felt good. And it felt like this is the Doom game that I've been waiting for. So I am very happy with this game. I would give this game a 5 out of 5 easily. This is, again, another banger from id. It's another banger from the Doom team, another banger in the Bethesda lineage of games. And man, have they been crushing it this year. They have been crushing it super hard. And I feel like anyone who is excited for Doom the Dark Ages, you are going to have a fun and amazing and a super dope time on your hands. Definitely check this game out. Cop this thing. If you're a PlayStation player, if you're a PC player, if you're anybody in between on the Xbox side on Game Pass, this is going to be the game that you were hoping for, and you got exactly what you wanted with your money, your time, and your brain space, because there's a lot of brains getting splattered all over the place in this game in so many different ways. So shout out to all the teams, especially the teams over at Bethesda for letting us review this thing early and having us in the mix and sending over this amazing piece of art in terms of the Doomslayer head and helmet. And some more goodies on the way, I think. But yeah, I'm very excited for you all to get a chance to play this thing and to get your time with it and have just as much of a blast as I did. So thank you again for watching our review of Doom the Dark Ages. Thank you so much for being a part of our Chicago Spawn on Me family. And please go watch more of the stuff that we have on our channels, YouTube and Spotify and podcast platforms all around the planet, because we need your help. We need your support. And we need you to check out more of our dope content that I get a chance to share with you here across the world. So much love to you all. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we all see you soon. Much love and peace.